is up, sexy people? It is Dave. It is Duncan.
What?
Nothing. Back from Metal Epidemic for another album review. And for this review, Duncan and I have been checking out the new album from Australian hardcore band Speed.
Good day.
The band's new album, Only One Mode, will be released on July 12th via Flatspot Records in the US and Last Ride Records in Australia.
Is that only one mode awesome? We'll find
Maybe.
out. Maybe. Keep it prolonged, Dave. Don't give anything away.
Formed in 2019, the members of Speed, brothers Jem on vocals and Aaron on bass, guitarist Josh and Dennis and drummer Kane never set out for popularity. The band had always done things on their own terms, working with the same collaborators since inception. Producer Elliot Gallart and videographer Jack Rudder.
You switched into Australian there. Videographer. Hey, throw another shrimp on the butt. Like, look at you. What are you doing right now? Who are you?
Sorry. When the 2021 single We See You was released, the song quickly rose to 1 million streams, unprecedented for a hardcore act from Sydney at the time. 2022's Gang Called Speed EP became a definitive moment for the band. Following the critically acclaimed release, Speed found themselves touring across the world, North America with Knocked Loose, then Europe, Southeast Asia, Australia, and documenting it all along the way. The band shares, we've been going to hardcore shows and playing in bands for most of our lives now. When you do this long enough, I guess you get a pretty good understanding of who you are, what you stand for, and why you're involved. Now, somewhat suddenly, we have a lot more outsiders finding out about our culture for good or for worse. We don't need you or anyone to tell us how to navigate that, because to us the meaning is the same as it's always been. We are hardcore kids in a hardcore band from Sydney, Australia. Speed are doing what they do for the love of their friends, family, and the culture of Australian hardcore even.
Oh, what? Like,
sorry.
The band have just blocked us. What are you doing? What we're doing here? I'm not affiliated with him.
Australian. Apologies. They're under the global spotlight for now, bright enough that their whole scene's right there with them. The album was produced, recorded, and mixed by Elliot Gallart at the Chameleon Studios, then mastered by some cunt called Brad Boatwright at Audio
we love you, Brad. We do.
He's a good cunt.
Everywhere, man.
I know.
Honestly.
This is our third review of the night, and we've already mentioned him twice.
Twice? Yeah. Like, one more and he's like Beetlejuice, he's going to appear in my living room.
Okay. So unless you've been living under an internetless rock, then you've probably seen some clips online of this band doing the rounds on various social media platforms. For those of you not aware, Speed,
how are you not aware?
Yeah.
Like, how are you on YouTube right now seeing this video and not aware of this?
Speed utilise a fairly underused instrument in the metal world. We've had plenty.
Interpretive dance, freestyle tap.
No. We've had sax. We've had trumpet.
I know. They're from Australia. It's a didgeridoo, isn't it?
No, it's not a didgeridoo,
no?
Duncan.
Right,
I've had that already. Incubus did that. We've had strings. This year we've had some double bass as well.
We've had some double bass, yeah.
But I'm not sure. In all my days as a hardcore fan, have I heard a band of this style include the mighty flute, Duncan?
I know for a fact that we're tempting fate, and there's gonna be comments. Actually, in 1994,
fuck them, Duncan.
Fingerless Joe released an EP which featured a flute as a recorded track looked backwards. And I'll be like, that's great. That's the sort of story that I couldn't wait to fucking listen to. I'm just going to log that away in a little archive that I call Who Gives a Shit.
It tends to be the more folky metal bands that embrace the flute. All right, we've heard that done.
I mean...
But...
Yes.
I mean, when I saw the clip, the speed clip on, I think it was TikTok I saw it on, and them using a flute, I was kind of sold at that moment. I'm not going to lie.
I'll be honest, the clip that I saw, which may be the same clip, I thought someone had spliced it, and it's going to rely on people understanding the reference here. I thought someone had spliced together a hardcore band, and there's a scene in one of the Anchorman movies where Ron Burgundy just breaks out some freestyle flute jazz. I just plays it, and I swear to God, someone put over the. I thought it would have been collaged together, and for a second when I heard that, I was like, that is like one of those mixed things where they get Metallica fucking playing over the top of the Macarena or some shit. I was like, that is geniusly mixed.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a really cool element. And then I was like, see if I can find who created the whole clip. And I was like, oh no, this band does that. Oh right. And so like that idea that I've suddenly thought would be cool has apparently already been done.
Yeah. So the vocalist Jem, he also plays flute in the band on the introduction to the album's opening track and on the lead single Real Life Love. It is an instrument he also teaches children how to play.
I fucking love this guy already. They've got so much love for me because we're going to talk about what? Did we mention Download?
I mean,
well, there's one more reason I kind of love them. Like for a band that basically said, we're blowing up right now, and also at the same time, we don't need you to tell us how we should act or how we should like acclimate to that. They pulled it a Download because he disagreed with the similar to we talked about this recently with Scene Queen.
Yeah.
Disapproved of the company they were using, which may or may not be involved with. They are funneling money in a. I don't want to mention things that will get this video pulled, essentially, but there's a war happening right now. You may have heard of it, and there's a lot of people that appear to be neutral but not being neutral. And Speed went, you know what? Now this has come to light. We're not doing it, and it makes me appreciate them even more.
Yeah.
So many bands like say they values Dave, and then all of a sudden you see them fucking selling. I can't believe it's not butter if you're Johnny Rotten. So yeah,
Download.
So
Jem said, I always thought it would be too gimmicky. In a recent interview with NME, we only ever wanted to incorporate stuff into music that would further it. So what changed? It just came naturally. I heard the demos back and was like, I reckon this could work. If this band has taught me anything, it's to embrace your identity and not shy away from what makes you who you are. So, but we're jumping the gun here because
it's a cool element, but I think there's a lot of people just focusing on flutes, right? And like you mentioned, it's not all the way through the album, so we'll talk about how that adds that's a little cherry on top of the sundae.
Yeah.
But if you got a cherry on top of a shit tasting sundae, you're not going to be spending hours talking about the cherry. You're going to be talking about so let's talk about the sundae, Dave.
Yeah. Fancy flutery aside, Duncan.
How long have you been sitting on that?
Fancy flutery.
Yeah.
Even take that cherry off. Just throw that cherry away for a second.
Throw it away. Say I don't give a flute.
Fuck your cherry. Fuck your flute. Beneath all that, Speed are a fucking killer hardcore band. I mean,
sort of band you just want to see live now.
Yes.
Like literally, I've never embraced the sound so quickly since Drain. Actually, Drain was the last one where I was like, I'm going to be spinning this all summer.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. This is the type of hardcore that gets the old blood pumping, Duncan.
Weird.
It's one of those.
Where's that blood pumping? Edit.
This is very much felt like a statement of intent. This is like just it kind of gives no fucks about your opinion. It's got that really meaty, thick guitar tone. It gave off kind of like vibes of like Gridiron, Madball, Pain of Truth, that type of kind of like heaviness to it. But just like with a whole load of shit, like a whole load of like groove and attitude added in. And I think that the kind of main thing that kind of hit me about this album when I kind of got through the full thing, I was like, this is incredibly accomplished for a debut album. Like,
oh yeah,
this is not this is not like rough around the edges. This is not like a band trying to find their sound. This is super focused. Everything here has been like shaped to hit you with as much force as possible, and there's not a moment of it that felt like needless, just like kind of added on for the sake of it. It's very much trimmed of any and all kind of surplus fat. It's one lean motherfucker of an album, Duncan. But what I really enjoyed was Speed are kind of clever enough to include the essentials, the parts that kind of pay homage to the genre, that will get like a ton of hardcore fans in the door like instantly. But they also know that they can't just, repeat what's already been done or repeat the same idea over and over on the album. And that's where the kind of genius in this album lies, because not only is the kind of fundamental stuff done to a level that's very impressive, it's delivered really well, it's tight, it's got the performance from the band is excellent, but the extra stuff that they've added in is really creative and really infectious on this album.
A lot of quirk.
Absolutely, a lot of personality for me, which I think is something a lot of hardcore bands are often missing. A lot of hardcore bands merge together because there's a lack of distinction between them. There's been 2 or 3 this year that for me have really kind of stood out from the pack, and Speed are another to add to that list. This album slaps like a motherfucker. This is like you will rinse this album, I guarantee it. And
I've listened to this 6 times and it's a stream.
Yeah, I know.
I hate streams. I fucking hate streams.
Yep.
And usually when someone sends in a stream to us, it's usually a 2 listens.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like I can't be fucked with it. Like it's 2024. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
6.
Yeah.
And 3 of them might have been back to back. I think 3 of them were back to back as soon as I got it. And I was like, I can't do this again. With like the 50 odd listens at an album, I need to pace this out. So I went a little bit more lighter on the other ones.
Yeah, it's super heavy. Like this is a fairly like crushing hardcore album. There are tracks here that are just like sometimes just 2 minutes of utter violence, where they just crank the aggression dial and they kind of start swinging. I mean, if you look at the track titles, full caps, full caps, every track. That's how upfront this album is. And those tracks, they make you want to throw down. Like when Real Life Love started, I almost roundhouse kicked my boss out his chair at work. You know what I mean? I was like, yes, let's do this. And then reality kicked in, obviously.
The song titles are how my mum texts me. Full caps.
Yeah. But like the album is just stacked with massive riffs. It's like riff upon riff, crushing breakdowns, very satisfying tempo switches. But they've shaped these tracks in a way that don't sound repetitive. Like they've added in bits of lead work to create, like a little gear switch in places into something less kind of full on. It's quite
almost Turnstile-esque, some of that lead parts.
Yeah. Turnstile.
I don't know if it's the guitar tone, maybe. But the way they introduce like the lead guitar over that kind of punky stuff they do, it kind of reminded me. I like it here as well. I don't think it's not overused, where it's overused on Turnstile.
I think the Turnstile thing is there, but it was used by Cro-Mags years before Turnstile, so I would probably go back to...
Yeah, I love you like that. I don't acknowledge this Turnstile's band of which you speak, even though I like it. I lived through the first wave, right? You're on the 7th wave, so suck it, Duncan. 7th wave McLeish strikes again.
There's sections as well where they actually cut the guitars right back and they let the bass come out like right in the forefront, and it's
chunky fucking bass as well.
Just grinds your face. Like it drives a lot of the tracks, which I absolutely loved. And then obviously you've got these little snippets of melody in the vocals as well, which are just kind of dotted around the album, very cleverly. Just it gives you get your first taste of it on, I think it was Don't Need. Where they pair the kind of heavy hardcore vocal with that kind of clean vocal. I felt it was quite Turnstile in places, the kind of clean part.
Cro-Mags, but fine.
And it's a very clever addition that creates a hook in the track, but also just a little bit of kind of breathing room as well. Loved it on Shut It Down as well.
Because it's gang vocal done. It's like gang. I don't think I've ever heard melody gang vocals with a hardcore. It's such a smart thing to do.
Cool contrast. Then we've also got one of my other favourite things, which is the art of the sample, Duncan.
Yeah.
Samples and heavy music are just fucking. It's like
Samples in Australian music, like it's Blood Duster all over again.
yeah, it's like Jack and Coke. You know, they go together. You know what I mean? That's the drink Coke, obviously, not
Yeah.
the.
Well, I don't know. I've been telling people I've been doing a lot of speed this week, and they look at me weird. So
And I feel like samples are becoming a bit of a dying art, you know. But when it's done right, it makes you smile. And these guys, they do it, and it made me smile. Like using Bruce Lee samples is like, I'm on board. I'm going to get into that.
Also fits thematically with the use of the flute, which we're not mentioning.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The first song opens with what I would class as a very almost Shaw Brothers-esque Bruce Lee kind of. Like, I was like, oh, what you
very
doing
true.
with it?
Yep. And they throw it in just at little play. There's a one at the end of Don't Need, I think it is, where they bring in the sample, and it sounded like it was going to be the end of the track, but then they fire in just one last riff right at the end just to fucking crush you. But yeah, I love the fact that the band aren't reluctant to use a little bit of melody in this, and the guitar work as well. You can hear on tracks like No Love But For Our Own, you've got like a kind of chorus effect on the guitars that they bring into the mix. Shut It Down also has some nice kind of like picked chords as well, which has got a little bit of synths in there as well at the end, which I liked. And then obviously we need to mention the other instrument in the band, the flute, Duncan. Salute the flute.
I'm glad we're going there, because I thought we were going to spend an inordinate amount of time on how that snare drum literally sounds like I'm like pounding some ass cheeks. Like it's got a spank to it that I fucking love.
Yeah.
It's so punchy. It is Bruce Lee. It's Bruce Lee with a 1 inch snare. Like it's so fucking slappy. It's slap happy, Dave.
Fucking right it is.
Right, but let's salute the flute.
Salute that flute, Duncan. This is genius. Like I loved the way that they opened the album. You get it on the very first track in the intro, which would have worked as an intro alone. If they never came back to it, that's fine, you know what I mean? It would have worked. But no, they incorporate it in the best fucking way. Right in the middle of the album, track 5, the first test. And it's genius. Like the build up to it is perfect, teasing you with little bits of cowbell and then it slides in and it does the business. And it's probably the least likely instrument you'd hear on a hardcore album, but they make it sound like it was made for the flute.
He's an accomplished flautist as well, because that the way he kind of flutters when he's like just in that section is not like, that's what I mean. I thought it was a sample. I genuinely thought like they went to some orchestra somewhere and caught someone like, I don't know, fucking playing flute to Shakespeare, and a small imp came on the screen. And I was like, I'll take that sample. Fucking incredible. Yeah. That whole section is just, it never, like, they continually switch up the elements in such a short period that it just is hard not to smile when you listen to it.
I love the way they were kind of going back and forth between the bit of flute and then there was the bass coming bam, 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 coming into it as well. Really cool.
You do like a deck scratch.
Yeah. I think it'd been very easy to overdo it with flute. They could have just been like, let's drop it in here and there. But the fact they don't, I think it works even better. It makes even more of an impact on the album.
It's the difference between a gimmick and good for the song.
Yeah, for sure. They also take a little bit more of an opportunity on the closing track, Caught in a Craze, where they push the boat out even further by adding in some really cool kind of rhythmical ideas that we hadn't heard prior on the album, also expanding the vocal melodies, but this time kind of layering them up and giving them this kind of like flare in and out effect throughout the track, which was a really cool way to close the album. Lastly, you just touched on it there, production on this is fucking awesome.
Oh man.
Elliot Gallart, who recorded, mixed and produced the album, has just captured this perfectly. Like, not only did the instruments sound really fresh and punchy and huge, but it's just got energy to it. Like, and it gives these tracks even more of a spark. I agree with you. I think the drum production is fantastic. The snare in particular is incredible on this. Yeah. As I said earlier, I've rinsed this album. I've played it to death. It's very, very addictive. Stylistically, it's very much in my kind of sweet spot, I suppose. But I genuinely believe, I mean, I was going to say they're about to blow up, but they already kind of have.
As soon as you've got a viral clip on TikTok, regardless how good your album is, you're already famous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That like the beauty of this is the album lives up to, if not exceeds, that clip.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's kind of nuts considering this is their debut album. Like, what the fuck? What has gone on?
I love that though. I totally love that. I think I wish more bands had that chance to kind of like have that viral moment and get like eyes on it.
Mm-hmm.
But the beauty of it is it's not a. And like this album could shift units, man.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound like they're trying to shift units.
Yeah.
I kind of love that about them.
Yeah.
And the more I now know about them as bands and their ethics and stuff like that, the more like you realise it's all sincere. So
Yeah.
hard not to love
So,
that, man.
in terms of the album, did you enjoy it as much as myself?
So last year, I mentioned Drain earlier on. Last year, that Drain album came out, and I'm not unlike yourself. I didn't spend the 90s listening to hardcore. So for me, like the 2020s have been, instead of that 20-year itch, it's almost been a 30-year itch for me, where I've been getting into a lot of stuff that rattled through the 90s that I just didn't have an interest in, whether that be some death metal, some punk influences, but moreover, specifically hardcore, which we mention it a lot. There is a bit of a renaissance on that kind of 90s, early 2000s vibe of hardcore that's working its way through, specifically Europe more than anywhere else. I feel like Germany, Belgium, France have got this predominance of kind of authentic 90s style hardcore influenced bands that are working their way through.
Yeah.
But when that Drain album dropped out, I heard it, I thought it sounded huge, I thought it sounded commercially massive, but also had a lot of attitude and a lot of snarl and a lot of like punch. And I loved it. And I've been craving something to kind of pass, like if this was a relay race, Drain can't keep handing the torch to Drain, like to keep running.
Yeah.
And Speed are the first band that have come along where I get a lot of that. They're a different sort of band though, so like to me, Speed ironically have a tendency to slow it down a little bit more. Like Drain at times goes a little bit too hard, and the Speed, but Speed ironically have more of the bounce.
Yes.
And I love that about them. Creatively, they're brilliant. The depth of range of influences and the way they mix them in, the juxtaposition of melody, and that's not always coming from the front man. Like I mentioned before, melodic gang style vocals is not something I think I've ever heard on a hardcore album before. Against like that aggressive shouty tone, even this aggressive shouty tone isn't like the heaviest fucking thing I've heard.
No.
There's cadence and register to it, so much so that when you listen to the first test just before you have that breakdown, then what he finishes it like finishes like there's a bit of reverb in there, but it's a note, it's clear note, and I love that about them. It just adds an extra element. It helps that the band are tight as fuck.
Yeah.
And playful. I'd said this before, it's quirky, and like it's quirky in a good way. It's quirky, not in an eccentric, I don't know why you've added a waltz into the middle of this hardcore song. They do lots of stops and starts, but fun stops and starts. They mix things around. They're not afraid to strip it out and let the bass roll. And with a production like this, and players like this, you do that. There's supreme confidence. I think too few bands nowadays let everything run except the drum and the bass, and I don't understand why that's like maybe lost its.
Yeah.
It's like the guitar has to be over fucking everything, and it just annoys me. It's catchy, it's quick, it packs a lot in. Like you feel like when you get to the end of this, you maybe not heard all the band's tricks, but there's maybe a kitchen sink included with the purchase of this. It's like they don't leave anything on the ground.
Yeah.
It is kind of mind blowing. See if you'd said to me when this had come over, there's this Australian band called Speed. This is album number 4 from them. And I'm fully aware we're still finding bands from Australia at the moment that have got like 2-3 albums deep, and we're like, how have we never heard these guys? I would be like that. Totally Sims that way. Listen to that production, listen to how accomplished it is, listen to how confident it is. Easy 4 albums in. It's fucking mind blowing. This is a debut.
Yeah.
I just don't like. You very seldom hear a band that when you listen to it, you feel like they've mastered their sound. Like, this is their sound. I'm sure they have other tricks they can bring to the table, but this is their sound.
Yeah.
Like, they could release another 4 albums like this and I'd be fucking overjoyed. The beauty of it as well is they stick to that classic kind of 90s hardcore ethos of don't make the album too long. Like, play it as long as you need to get your ideas over and then switch it out. So, I was kind of, I genuinely am floored by how fucking good this is. And this might be one of those few occasions where I'm so excited that they're getting the buzz that they are. Like, I think there's too many bands that are blown up that I sit back and go, I don't get it. Or I understand why, but I cynically understand why. Like, it's written that way. I listen to this band and I see they've had that. And I know a lot of people will be like, well, the big spot that they got was that gimmick thing with the flute. Maybe it was, but don't tell me that when you were listening and all you were hearing was the flute. You were listening to everything else. And it's not overused on the album either, which is the genius of it. If it was on 6 tracks here, I'd be a bit more cynical. Yeah. But the fact it opens and the fact that unlike you're like that, it could just come in at the beginning and not be anything else. Fuck that, Dave. I've said this before. If you're going to do weird shit at the beginning of your album, it better appear somewhere else in your album, or I'm pissed, right? It's a fucking industrial sample thing at the beginning, and then there's no industrial after that. Fuck that album. You're gonna bring foot in, play it, and they bring it in the best possible way. So, I challenge anyone to dislike this album. I was thinking about, like, the more and more I thought about this, I was like, this could be played on the school run with the kids in the car. We'd all just be like, like fucking slamming in the car. I could play this to my wife while I'm romancing her. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Is it going? Is it going?
Is that
like
is that a flute in your pocket, or are you having?
Oh, she knows how to play the flute. Edit that out. But yeah, like I get the feeling that a lot of bands say we don't give a fuck what other people think. I think Speed might be the first band I've heard in a while that don't sound bone-crushingly heavy, and you know it's going to shift 500, and that's about it. Like, Speed might be one of the few bands I've heard of recent times where I'm like that. I totally believe absolutely everything they say. And the download thing for me, like I mentioned before, is is the piece de resistance. It's a band living by their ethics. Even if I disagree with a stance, and I don't in the position that they took, but even if I disagree with that, if you live by your morals and stand up for them, even if I don't agree with them or see eye to them, you gain respect from me. Yeah. They're walking the talk, which is just another reason to fucking love them. Yeah, like this is going to be played like Rinse. Like, what's the next level after Rinse? Like, that's like all. This is my summer album. Yeah. Like, it's so fucking easy to listen to, and I'm a cross between wanting to high-five people and break televisions. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know what to do. But as a public service announcement, a wee PSA at the end here. If you do listen to a lot of this album, do not do what I do and say you've been doing a lot of Speed. But a lot of Speed this week, because you will lose friends, family, and you will get called into HR. Sit you down and make sure everything's all right. This is fucking great, man. I can't throw enough at this to do justice to how much fun you're going to have when you finally switch on only one mode, and that only one mode is fucking happy. So. Yeah.
Okay, final thing, scores, but only one mode.
Right, Shill, sell out your soul, Dave. What are you giving this?
We've reviewed quite a few hardcore albums this year, and a lot of them have been close to perfect, but not quite. A lot of 4.5s this year in the hardcore style.
Maybe there's not a 5 this year. Maybe there's just no a wee 5 this year, Dave.
Could be. This one is fun. It's heavy as balls. It's original. It's got a fucking fire production, and it's the best hardcore album I've heard this year. It's a 5. Ooh. 5 for me. Love it. Rinsing it to the end of the year. Duncan, what are you thinking?
1. I'm giving this 1.5, Dave. That's what I'm giving it. No, it's a 5. Easy 5. There is not a second, not even a half a second of anything on here I would change.
No, not
like,
not
see
a
if
bad
they never
track.
top this album they've released one of the best hardcore albums I've heard in an age. So
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly I do. I just want to. And the thing is, we mentioned in another review, because weirdly we're doing 2 Australian albums this week.
Yeah.
That never happens. That other band might not get over here. This one definitely will. So we are going to go and see these guys live, and I'll tell you right now, I can't fucking wait. Cannot wait. Well done, lads. Honestly, incredible.
Speed, only one mode out on July 12th. Links below to the band, to the pre-order. Check it out. Have a listen. It's fucking awesome. High recommendation from us. That is the review. Thank you for checking it out. Much appreciated. We'll be back with another review very soon. But until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.